Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, her district, major crime in her district rose 70%. She covers Bronx and Queens. Obviously she supported the defund the police movement. She supported a lot of the legislation at a local level that, us on this platform blame for the rise in crime, So at the same time, major crime rises 70% in her district. Throughout the city from 2019, crime has risen 30%, right? So she over doubles the amount of crime in her district. We were talking about this a little bit prior to going live. How much do you think a congresswoman or a congressperson actually affects the crime rate in New York City?
Yeah, that's a very fascinating question, because, just looking at it without going deeper into it, I think there's two conversations at play here. The first is how much of a direct impact she can have on it. And the second one is how much has her support for a lot of these poor policies have kind of trickled down to the local level. And I think it's a very fascinating question that I think we're gonna have a good discussion about it, a good back and forth about it. But I do believe that from the onset, this looks like a little bit of a hit piece against her. So, and by the way, we're not fans of AOC, so let's be clear on that.
Yeah. So I think, to be fair, like, she's supported the defund the police movement. You mentioned prior to getting on that she backs DSA back candidates who were basically anti-police. But just the nitty gritty of it, right? Like, to me, when I look at this, I'm like, well, how come this hit piece wasn't done on the Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis for the last 3 years when you look at the crime rate in Staten Island and Brooklyn where she covers? Because the same's true, and then I'm like, well, am I going to blame Nicole Malliotakis for the rise in crime? Now, she supports a lot of common sense legislation, Nicole Malliotakis. So, she backs the blue in, like, the commercial sense of the word, right? Like, she doesn't truly back, she wasn't there for you. She wasn't there for me. She wasn't there for Sal. She wasn't there for when anybody's making waves, but common sense on the face, I would say she's a back the blue candidate where she actually supports the police being able to go do their job, does not support policy that would traditionally cause crime to rise. But yet, since 2019, crime in her district has risen almost double, almost same as AOC. Major crime in Staten Island's through the roof right now, dude. This year, it's this year. Obviously, we've shown you a little reasons why it's down this year, but since 2019, if you look at the rise in crime in Staten Island, it's unrecognizable to what it was prior to that. It's that inconvenient fact that the NYPD doesn't want to compare to 2019 numbers anywhere in the city. Never mind. I honestly think in the worst area is Staten Island, and I'm going to sit there and say, well, can I blame Nicole Malliotakis for that?
Well, that's a good point, but I think there's something that there's a little bit of difference there in that, like AOC, like I look at her national, her stances on national issues, like the defund the police movement, the migrant crisis, the push that's on a certain level national for decriminalization of prostitution through Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, and I see that little difference there. That I have to, in the back of my head, I have to wonder how much of that is like is kind of trickling down onto the local level. How much of the national DNC policy for that is influencing the local politicians and giving them the kind of the platform to push on the local level. And like we were talking before the show started, like you see that area now being the politicians in that area, in particular Hiram Monserrat, now begging basically for the feds to come in and to help that area. And then you look at like AOC's stance on like defund the police, going way back to like 2018 and 2019, before in a lot of ways the things really got heated with Floyd and with the summer of I think the summer of love, as they call it. And you just have to look at that area now and think to yourself, you know, how much of that stance has hurt the area, you know, has kind of emboldened the criminality that's going on in that area.
Well, I think that's really the question, dude. Like, you know, so AOC's district sees a 70% crime surge, right? Double what's happening in New York City, right? And so now the Post, congratulations, you actually admitted what we've been telling everybody on this platform for 3 years, that crime under Eric Adams is up over 30%, major crime. So, you know, so all the fluff pieces on Jessica Tisch, you just basically debunked in this one article. So thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you for backing up what we've been saying. So, but I mean, I think, you know, and you know, Sal often says it, and myself, Eric often says it. I think I've even heard you say it, and because it's true, and we hear a lot of the audience and our guests say it. Your local politicians affect your life more than those on the national level. When I look at members of Congress, I look at them as national politicians. Yeah, they represent me in Washington. They do. But they're kind of detached from the local politics. Now, coming out and backing a Tiffany Caban, backing a Chiosei, backing a candidate who's vehemently anti-police, who's pro-crime, you know, basically the legislation that they push would be from a pro-criminal stance. I could see how that has a cascading effect on crime. But overall, am I holding my congressperson accountable for the crime rate? Absolutely not. I'm holding my city council, my mayor, and my police commissioner accountable, especially in New York City. I mean, this crime rise in AOC's district is a failure on the Adams administration and nobody else. In my opinion, it's a complete fit, because I don't care even if your council person's Tiffany Caban in that district. So Tiffany Caban controls the entire city and she's responsible for the crime in her district. Yeah, I mean, is it good to have her voting against you? No. Is it good to have, out of the 51 members in New York City Council, is it good to have the overwhelming majority of them voting for the same type of policy that AOC supports? Absolutely not. It's not. I think when I listen to them, I'm like, I could tell that to a third grade class and they would be like, yeah, that's not a good idea. I don't think those are good ideas, right? But yet, New York City Democrats continue to overwhelmingly vote for them. But I'm sitting there and I'm saying, I can't point the finger at AOC for that. I cannot point the finger at AOC for the crime rise. I am pointing the finger solely at the hands of, and the only reason I keep mentioning the mayor in this is because he appointed the police commissioner and he is, in fact, the actual police commissioner. Him, and he has his little buddy, Cass Daughtry, running around, deputy mayor of public safety. They have not let Jessica Tisch run the job, same way that they did to Keechant Sewell. You know, so it is Eric. This is Eric Adams' world. This crime spike in the 4.3 and the 4.8 and the 109, the 106 and the 110, the 114. You know, all this crime spike. This to me is like, again, crime and Eric Adams, New York City.
Yeah, you know. Okay, so the point I thought of as like the last go around was that you know, it's very fascinating that this article is coming out at this point, right? With the election coming around in November, you know, and that's the point I thought of. I just thought of. I'm like, wait a second, you know, what have we been talking about the last couple of days here about the politics season? You know, we put out a segment called "Trust Me, Bro." And it's like that season where it's like, trust me, bro. You know, don't look deeper into what's going on. You know, don't. You know, all these politicians are up for election in the fall, and we're seeing things happen all of a sudden that it's like Is this a coincidence that this is happening now? I mean, to me, I said this seems like a little bit of a hit piece, and the angle that I look at when I think of that is that is this to kind of displace? Is this them trying to do as much as they can to displace blame for the situation that parts of the city are on away from the Adams administration? Yeah, is this you know the Adams administration in particular is very good at that. For well over a year now, we've seen interviews where Chell himself is like, well, other parts of government have to do their job. Other parts. Adams has said it too. In fact, I believe Kaz has said it too, and that's a good point. But like we've said before, is have you done the most you could do to fix the situation? And when you look at like AOC's district, I agree with you that the mayor done in as much as the mayor and the police department done the best job they could have done to fix the situation there. And it's clearly not. And it's clear, it's, as we've said before, it's band-aid approaches that just displace crime for the period that there's been more manpower there. And now that you see that the manpower has kind of shrunk in terms of like the Roosevelt Avenue initiative. Well, what are we seeing? The surge in the same problems that were there prior to that initiative come back. So to me, this does seem like a bit of a hit piece designed to displace that blame for the situation away from Adams in hopes of bolstering his platform, which was the centrist, security-minded Democrat. And again, without security and a stable public safety situation, what platform does Eric Adams actually have?
He has none. He just opened up that what was it? Stop anti-Semitism line. I mean, The guy has done everything to help anti-Semitism and every other form of hate crime grow in New York City because, like I consistently say, there's no way to effectively reduce hate crimes without effectively reducing all crime. I mean, and I'm willing to debate anybody on that fact. Like, hate crimes in general are a result of the overall crime trend. Right. Most of them, they're done. To be a hate crime, it has to be done in whole or in part related to your hate for someone. That's why the crime happened. Like if I punched you in the face. But that's not really how most of these hate crimes are occurring. A lot of these hate crimes are occurring by way of the mentally ill. And they're using a racial slur or they're using a slang. And traditionally, that wouldn't be a hate crime if you were following the book. But there's so much, Eric Adams, NYPD, is so politically motivated that all you need is one member of the community to complain and say that's a hate crime. He's going to make it a hate crime, even if it's not. Well, he used a racial slur. It's like, but he's off his medicine and he's been homeless for days and he's been punching everyone in the face using racial slurs. And by the way, he's the same race as them. It's like, or he's the same religion, whatever it is, And so, to me, like that whole thing, it's a complete gaslighting. He just opened up that anti-Semitism task force, and I was like, that should just literally be called. And now the politicians are actually parroting exactly what we said here. It should, and I think I did a bunch of tweets about it too, where I said he should literally call that the task force to garner the Jewish vote. Because it has nothing to do, like there's nothing that's going to be done that's going to come out of that task force that's actually going to cause anti-Semitism to decrease. Unless you're attacking all crime, you can't just hone in, all right, we're going to stop this. You just can't do it because most of these things stem from violent street crime. They stem from street crime. They don't stem from anything else. There's not like this hate group running around New York City like Eric Adams would like you have to believe when he told you one of the biggest threats New York City was facing was white supremacy, and he needed his brother to be in charge of his security staff. I mean, and this article is basically just as ridiculous as Eric Adams claimed that he had to illegally hire his brother because he was worried about white supremacy. This is total gaslighting, in my opinion. And it's a hit piece, right? Like you could sit there and you could say, oh man, yeah, she does nothing. Oh, she's not involved. Oh, she supports all this horrible thing. Agreed. But how much does her stances actually affect the crime rate in New York City? Leo Fierpini, he says it best here. Your local politician is like the sergeant or lieutenant. They affect your day-to-day life. That's your mayor. That's your city councilman. That's your police commissioner in New York City. They're appointed, right? So I hold that mayor accountable. He's in charge of those appointments, right? He's the general manager. So to me, when you're blaming the police commissioner, blame the mayor. They affect your daily life. National politicians are like 3-star chiefs in one police plaza. They affect you, but in a more removed way. And honestly, I think the 3-star chief could even affect you more at a local level than an AOC could. Because, again, she's completely detached, and that crime rate solely should hang on the hat of New York City Mayor Eric Adams, along with the city council. I won't lie. There are issues that are in the city council, but again, why is it solely in HUD district? Why are we looking at HUD district without doing the comparison to the Republican, Nicole Maliotakis, when I think the crime rate was actually worse? It was up over 100% at one point.
To your point, how much of the hate crimes have actually happened on the street level in places like Crown Heights and the 7-Sub? Because something to keep in mind that I'm looking at the stats for year to date, and they're up in felony assaults in that area. So to your point, like if Eric Adams actually wanted to improve the lives of the Jewish community there and lower the amount of hate crimes against them, then wouldn't the simplest solution be to increase the manpower in that precinct? Shouldn't the simplest solution be to have more cops just walking footposts in the area to prevent like those random attacks on the street? And instead of doing that, we're getting the smoke and mirrors and dog and pony show that is this new agency within the mayor's office.
There's a new effort in the city to combat hate against Jewish New Yorkers. The mayor says that he has formed a team to solely focus on this issue.
10% of the population are Jewish New Yorkers. Yet over 51% of the hate crimes are Jewish New Yorkers. Make sure that we send a very clear message that in this city, anti-Semitism cannot live, and most importantly, it cannot grow.
This office will establish a task force which will monitor court cases and also work with the city's law department.
So to me, it's like we keep going back to the fact that the major problem in the city is the lack of cops, and it's a resource that is being poorly. It's a resource that the department is very short on right now, and to that, why hasn't the mayor pushed people like AOC? Why hasn't he called out AOC in her inaction to get more resources to her district and to New York? Meaning,
stay tuned, because election season's early. He's going to stay tuned.
Yeah.
You've just watched a clip from our live episode. Click the description to watch the full episode. Like, share, and subscribe for more videos just like this.